Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a chance to recharge. As we return, we are excited to begin our panels and sessions spread over the next 2 days. Let's get started. Now, we begin our first panel, Beyond Consignment-Based Gold Imports, Balancing Trade and Value Addition. This discussion will rethink how India imports gold, finding a better balance between market needs and increasing domestic value addition while addressing the challenges jewelers and refiners face. To the panel, I invite Mr. Manish Goel, ICICI Bank, Mr. Surendra Mehta, IBJA, Mr. Harish Acharya, Parker Bullion, Mr. Mahendran K. Karur Vaishya Bank, Ms. Rupa Datta, Senior Advisor, Exim Bank, and Mr. Surendra Mehta, IBJA. To moderate the session, I welcome Mr. P.R. Somasundaram, Industry Expert, Gold and Precious Metals Sector.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to have this panel, which I think covers almost the breadth of the industry. So I don't have to do much. And in any case, I did not have to do much because I initially gave a briefing to Anmay Agarwal, who's sitting there. And he has done such a fantastic job. For the first time, I am not going to be extempore. I'm just going to read out what he has asked me to ask all of you because it flows so beautifully. And thank you very much. This is a real good work. Okay, shows a lot of understanding of this thing, and obviously the experts will throw more light. Okay, he has actually prepared a nice report, so I can't do it. But for those interested, I'm happy to share this later. So welcome all of you to this panel. We will have 45 minutes. We'll try and give at least 5-10 minutes to the other experts sitting there. Everyone in this room will be probably interested in this. So this is beyond consignment-based gold imports. So obviously, when you say gold, it also applies to other precious metals, particularly silver, etc. So I'm just going to go to Manish first. Not because ICICI can do more and not doing and all that. So that's absolutely not intended. But, just because it is Manish, okay? We all know about the consignment model of imports in India, so I don't have to repeat because there are experts here. It has served us well so far. As you can see, I'm reading because he has written it so nicely, I don't want to read out the good thing. But is it not time to move to a pre-funded model for domestic jewelers at least? Exporters is another story. We could probably continue that. So please, could you talk about the feasibility implications for bank capital and competitiveness, whether you think it's the right time, etc. As I said, I want to go through 3 rounds of questions. So 45 minutes, so 15 minutes, one round, another round, that way. Okay, so over to you.
Okay, thanks Som, and good morning everyone. Now on the topic consignment versus pre-funded outright transaction versus banks role and banks capital requirement. So in the present consignment model, if we look, it is the metal is sitting in the balance sheet of the supplier, and the Indian bank only acts as a canalizing agent. So there is no per se capital requirement. However, the moment we use the consignment can be used in 2 ways. One is to facilitate a metal loan versus to facilitate a outright delivery to the customer. So outright delivery, it continues to be no capital requirement business. So from that point of view, whether we move to outright pre-funded from customer side or we use consignment, the bank's capital is not getting utilized in the current model also, it will not get utilized in the new model also. Now coming to the second utilization, where the metal is delivered on metal loan basis. So the moment metal is delivered on metal loan basis, bank's capital gets utilized, it results into borrowing from the supplier. So the balance sheet of the bank is utilized in the metal loan business. Now, export versus domestic. Now, export also requires metal loan as well as outright, so we keep that export business separate for now. For the domestic business, consignment versus pre-funded, the metal loan business is something which we'll have to look at how to take care of it, because currently the RBI, whatever mandates they have given in terms of procuring metal through IIBX, it is like a pre-funded from the customer side, and hence metal loan would not be possible, or any kind of loan syndication would not be possible. Otherwise, if we look at a parallel in the global markets, like the closest to us is something like China, where we have a similar kind of a model where not most, I should say, all metal enters the country in a pre-funded manner. There is no cross-border metal loan which goes there. But there, the banks are allowed to use their balance sheet and generate metal loan out of the balance sheet, which right now is not allowed by the central bank, or the local regulations don't allow the banks to use their balance sheet to generate a loan out of balance sheet. Basically, by doing a buy spot and sell forward, keep the price hedge and convert that into a loan to the customer. So hence, from the market point of view, as the customer requirement point of view, I feel moving from consignment to pre-funded would in some way be able to cater to the outright requirement, but to the gold metal loan, it would be not possible to move to the pre-funded transaction basis. Secondly, also we have to differentiate between the requirement of a mid-size or a small customer versus large customer. Pre-funded transaction would work for a large ticket transaction. It will be economically feasible and viable. However, there are a lot of jewelers who just take a 1 kg delivery or a 2 kg delivery, and that delivery also they take on a gold metal loan basis instant. They will like fund the security in the morning at 11 o'clock and they need delivery by 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So to cater to that kind of a granular customers and smaller customers, the consignment model works better by importing a large quantity and farming out smaller quantities as and when required. It becomes quite commercially viable, which a pre-funded transaction would result into a much higher operating cost. So I think it is a coexistence and a picking up of best of both worlds based on the customer profile and the customer requirement that should evolve. And I think that with the first transaction which has already happened on IIBX by banks, more banks would be coming and operationalizing that particular route. And with regulatory relaxations, I think time has come where this can become another mainstream supply chain.
We will ask the same question to the other banker, and then you will realize how much compliance has trained them in communicating anything. Okay. Now, Mahendra.
Som was also a banker, so we're just following his, towing his line.
Yes. Mahendra, the question goes to you before I come to Harish and Surendra. What would you say? You have been in this, I mean, you, Manish, and all are experts in this. You have actually created this market. So there are some structural advantages, but which is there in the consignment model. But even the pre-funded model, even if it is a loan, I mean, banks taking bullion risk on the balance sheet. I mean, we saw what the CEA said today. I mean, gold is going to play a very, very significant role. To keep that chunk of it out of banks' balance sheets now and say, no, you just operate as if you are I mean, I think the time has come when it is now not converging with the broader development. So, what do you think of this thing? And specifically, I want to ask you and Harish a very important question. There is this concept called qualified jewelers. Now, IIB has brought it. Should it be that whoever qualifies as a qualified jeweler, he may not have registered, should only go for pre-funded model? Should we probably say that? I mean, you can be a qualified jeweler. Sorry, you will not get consignment. You know, I'm just saying, rules have to be. So, if you can answer the question.
Yeah, thanks. Basically, I mean, just we heard the chief economic advisor talking about the importance of gold. But see, RBI came up with the circular in 1998.
Can you come closer to the mic there?
RBI came up with the circular in 1998, allowing banks to bring in gold on consignment basis. Now, for the benefit of most of us here, I think most of us know about how the consignment model works. We're talking about consignment versus pre-funded model. Now, it's almost 27 years, about close to about 700 to 800 tons of gold which keeps coming into the market. There's a system in place. There is an overseas buyer or supplier who's taking it an exposure on the Indian buyer. So there's no pre-funding. It's a free model where you have gold in your hands without even paying anything. So the risk is eliminated for the banks, and at the same time, whatever is required for the people, that's what is there. Now, why do you want to pay for it, take it in your books and have an exposure on these things? So I would advocate strongly that the existing model which is there on consignment basis, for whatever advantages it's got, should continue. In addition to that, if you're talking about the free funded model, we do have an exchange. All of us are wanting to have to be one of the best exchanges in the world. But unfortunately, what's happening is we are having this, looking at it from an alternate avenue of bringing in gold. So that's something which needs to change, in the sense that if we start, like for example, just hypothetically we think about there are no gold which is going to come into India, what happens then? Everything will fall in place. People will find ways to sort of getting gold from the systems and making use of that. 20 years, it's almost 20 years since there's been a change in the lease rates. Let me talk about that also. There's been a lot of upheaval in people talking about the interest is going up, it's crossing even the CC levels. But what was happening for the past 20 years? In gold, the lease rates were never beyond 1%. Right now it's hovering around 7 to 8%. Of course, there's been a correction. Now, when we're talking about gold metal loans, there are avenues of how to use the gold within India instead of borrowing it. Now, as I said, when we talk about not allowing gold into India, making use of the old gold within India, then the whole ecosystem of the gold bullion business in India will change. We have got used to a particular system of when someone wants gold, he puts an Indian, the bank takes it, facilitating. There's a lot of audit trial, there's a lot of responsibilities on the bank because the banks are involved in that. So we're not finding anything wrong in the consignment model because the banks are involved in that. There's a lot of responsibility on them. We've also been seeing a lot of disturbances in the market because of a different way of reading about the agreements or the circular which is there. So there are certain things which are there which needs to be streamlined, where the bankers who have been involved in this business for a very long time, the industry experts, people who are there in the industry, all of them join together and come up with a mechanism where we say, let's make the best of the system which is there, which is available. Fortunately, in India, I don't think there's any dearth of gold in India. As Professor keeps talking, it's the gold. Let's make India the gold capital of the world. There's no difference. The gold capital, it's already a gold capital, and we have not accounted for it at all so far. Accounted for it in the sense no one has taken a measurement of how much gold is there in each household. Now we are all, as we say, we are talking in silos about what can be done, what cannot be done. But it's just a platform where everyone comes together and says, this is what we need. We are going to take some bold steps about how we have to utilize the Indian gold which is there, how we will have to utilize the supply of gold which is available freely in the overseas market without leading to speculation in the market with regard to, like, the custom duty is going to change, let me punt on that, the interest rate is going to change, let me punt on that. These are the things which are disturbing. We are looking at a market where a shop is just about 10 by 10 feet in India, and at the same time you have about 10,000 square feet shops. It's a big range. We're talking about people who have got stocks of more than 500 kgs. We're talking about people who got 5 kg stocks in the stores. So all this, it's not an imbalance. Everything has to come to a level where everyone feels that there's a proper ecosystem which is there that everyone can operate.
Fine. Coming back, I still think that the question remains unanswered. If consignment model is so good for India, I would like to see that benefactor. Okay, really, because somebody is passing on a huge benefit to India. I'm just putting it in a broad, right? I mean, I would like to see that person who has such a love for India that he is giving us so much benefit.
The current system which is there, so if I can just quickly answer you, the current system which is there, the overseas banks are taking exposure on you and he's giving you the gold.
Absolutely. So there is a cost to it, which he is charging. I mean, I'll be saying that he is passing on without cost? No. All I'm trying to say is we'll have to probably go nuclear on this and see. I take your point. See, you're not going to disrupt a system without another system absolutely in place. That's not what I'm suggesting. But all I'm suggesting is now with the institutions in place and with banks, and with gold definitely going to play a bigger role, is it not time for the banks to step in? And if it was so good, why hasn't China adopted it? I mean, these questions remain, but I'm not still disagreeing completely with you. I am just saying that, I would like to hear more views. So coming back to Harish, as an industry, Ms. Rupa, I will come back to you. I have some specific questions for you. Harish, what do you think, which one works better, Harish? I mean, tell me. And also, you must answer specifically, is there a way to say that, those who are qualified jewelers should now be told just go ahead and do it? Not on a particular day, but I'm just saying slowly they should move to the pre-funded.
देखिए सर, जो गोल्ड इंपोर्ट का एक थोड़ा हिस्ट्री मैं बता देता हूँ। 96 में गवर्नमेंट ने स्पेशल इंपोर्ट लाइसेंस से गोल्ड इंपोर्ट शुरू किया कि जिसका 4 करोड़ का एक्सपोर्ट है उतना 4 करोड़ का हम गोल्ड इंपोर्ट करके ला सकते हैं। 98 में उन्होंने इसको ओपन कर दिया, OGL हो गया। अभी इंडिया का ये सबसे देखिए कि हमको गोल्ड इंपोर्ट करने में 1949 में हम आज़ाद हुए, 48 में, और 98 तक यानी 50 साल लगे हमको गोल्ड OGL करने के लिए, यानी ओपन जनरल लाइसेंस में आने के बाद। अभी यहाँ पे अगर हम देखते हैं ना कि ये अभी जो है गोल्ड कंसाइनमेंट है, ये बिल्कुल अननेसेसरी है, ये ज़रूरत ही नहीं है। इसको जितना जल्द हो सके उतना जल्दी बंद कर देना चाहिए। इसका सबसे पहला कारण है कि आपने इंडिया के जो प्लेयर्स थे 98 को जब ही ओपन किया, तो अभी जस्ट एक फॉर्मल मेरा लैंग्वेज में बताता हूँ कि उसको एक मैच्योर बच्चे की तरह आपने बड़ा किया। 2011-12 तक बेटर वे पे सोना आना शुरू हो गया, सब लोग प्लेयर्स बन गए, इंडिया वाइज आप 500-600 प्लेयर्स हो गए और लोग प्रॉपरली बिजनेस करने लगे थे। अभी इसको ओपन कर लेना था या बैंक का ज़रूरत नहीं था, या अभी जब ये एक्सचेंज चालू हो गया है तो यहाँ पे इसका कोई ज़रूरत ही नहीं है, क्योंकि ये क्या कर रहा है, ये जस्ट एक जंग क्रिएट कर रहा है। जस्ट मैं एक एग्जांपल देता हूँ कि आज हम MCX में 1 किलो गोल्ड बाय करते हैं तो शिवांशु सर हैं सामने बैठे हैं, 12 से 15% मार्जिन लगता है, ऑलमोस्ट 12 से 15% मार्जिन लगता है। हम गोल्ड इंपोर्ट करते हैं तो हमको 6% कस्टम ड्यूटी पेमेंट करना पड़ता है। बैंक्स क्या करती है कि वो 6% ड्यूटी के ऊपर 20% ही लेते हैं, यानी 1.2, यानी 100 किलो इंपोर्ट करोगे तो 1200 ग्राम सोने का अमाउंट आपका रिजर्व रहेगा। बाकी तो वो लोग जो थे, जो स्पेक्यूलेटर्स थे, वो एक्सचेंज में प्ले करने की जगह बैंक के कंसाइनमेंट के साथ प्ले करने लगे, और वो लोग उसके ड्यूटी के साथ भी प्ले कर रहे हैं, उसके मार्केट के साथ भी प्ले कर रहे हैं। तो आई थिंक ये अननेसेसरी है, क्योंकि आपको 5 किलो 10 किलो चाहिए सोना तो आप एक्सचेंज से ले लीजिए, आज मैच्योर हो रहा है। अच्छा, बुलियन डीलर से ले लीजिए, बुलियन डीलर इंपोर्ट करके दे रहे हैं। तो ये मेरे ख्याल से कंसाइनमेंट, अच्छा रिफाइनर से इंपोर्ट करके ले लीजिए, रिफाइनर भी 300 टन इंपोर्ट कर रहे हैं। MMTC पैम्प है 2-5 किलो भी दे रहा है हर जगह पे, और ऐसा नहीं है, बहुत सारे 27-28 सिटीज़ में हर जगह पहुंचा रहा है माल। तो मेरे ख्याल से कंसाइनमेंट ये आज की डेट में आउट ऑफ डेटेड है।
Good.
और इसको नहीं,
I think that's a very good thing. And you are noting these points. So I would like you to work on this, and along with, with the professor's thing, and we will try and recirculate. Okay, not taking every other point of view, but let us go deeper. Thank you very much. Surendra, quickly, yours. I want to go to Mr. Datta. What is your view on this? Do you agree with?
See, I fully agree with Vasubhai. We have to understand one thing, that once you are in the exchange regime, once you have commodity exchange in its place, there has to be a level playing field. You can't have an exchange where consignment is not permitted, and you can, and then you have a bank where consignment model is permitted. Secondly, what Manish ji said, and what the bankers are saying, that there are only 2 models. One is GML, another is pre-funded model. But this pre-funded model is again divided into 2 parts. One is where you pay 100% and take the delivery. Another where you only pay 1.2% and you borrow money from the market, pay it, and immediately get your money. So in a way, with 1.2%, what the bankers are taking in terms of duty, a person importing 100 kg of gold, he is indirectly collecting money from the market for 100 kg, and then he is paying to the bank. So his position is open for about 1 day or 2 days. So this is a big risk which the entire market is taking. So this also needs to be taken into consideration. Consignment models for GML looks to be okay, but at what rate of interest and whether similar consignment model can be introduced for GML purpose in IIBX, that is very important.
Perfect.
We must have a level playing field. Or we should all look at some instrument where this gold metal loan can be arranged only by virtue of some kind of monetization scheme within our country where lending borrowing is permitted. Why are we importing gold? As you rightly said, why they are allowing us to allowing consignment gold to us? What are the benefits? So indirectly, to my mind, it seems that they are trying to bring more market, they are trying to gain more market, and they are trying to ensure that the gold monetization does not take place in our country.
Good, very good. So there are two views, as I said. The idea is to discuss, and not that they are completely at cross purposes. Somebody is saying that there has got to be a balance, but there is a view that we must completely move out of it, because that's one way which will make India a proper player, and even our exports and things like that will do it. But how to do it, we are not saying it should be done overnight. Now, come back to Ms. Rupa. I have a question for you, slightly different from this. I have to ask you about two things. One is the SIPA, this thing. But before that, I want to first come back into this exports thing. This, do you think 80-20 was a mixed experience, okay, for various reasons, implementation and that. But what suggestions could we take from that? I mean, there were certain good parts of it. It didn't work fully well, but that doesn't mean you throw the baby with the bathwater. So what are your thoughts on business models like job work and all that sprung up during that period? Can the best parts of that policy intervention be passed on, and a new model developed? So I would first start with that exports thing.
You want me to talk about the 80-20 model or overall export?
No, overall exports with a specific thing on 80-20, and I will also add one more question if I may, just so that you can speak. Why, when we speak about exports, we are so focused only on gold. But then if you look at the whole industry, there is a lot of other things which come along with that. The machinery comes with that, the hallmarking machines. I mean, I look at the hallmarking, there is not a single one made in India. We have perhaps in the overwhelming focus on gold, we have forgotten the peripherals also, which is a very big thing. So what are we doing to promote those manufacturing and all in India? I mean, for instance, the hallmarking, we could just do something about it. So if you can talk about the overall exports.
Firstly, I would like to say that as we all know, that overall gold imports in India on a yearly basis is about 800-900 tons every year, and this has impacted the current account deficit quite a lot. Presently, of course, we are in a very comfortable position with foreign exchange reserves, and our CAD deficit is maybe around 1.2%, but when it was reaching 4% and so, that is where the 80-20 scheme came in. And one important thing is, of this entire amount of imports, only about 10% is exported. So coming back to what you were saying, Som, I think we really need to focus on exports.
Correct.
Before we go to anything more technical, let me just say that when we go on exports, we have to look at the more value added segments, which would be the studded gold jewelry, the gold jewelry, the jewelry which caters to the demand of the millennials, which is the lightweight jewelry. So basically moving up the value chain. Okay, so in our entire gem and jewelry export basket, and since I've worked with them for 10 years, and I'd like to let you know that even in Exim Bank, we are working with them. We are looking at cluster-based development models. We have visited clusters and seen how much of work is happening for these kind of new sunrise areas. And obviously we move out from the more from the cut and polished diamonds and look into these sectors. So we have to move up the value chain. We have to be, that is probably your next question, which I'll talk in later in detail about the CIPA. So we have to move up the value chain if we have to be part of the world gold markets, if we have to promote exports. What you are talking about is more of the back end, you know, the hallmarking, the AI, the blockchain, the end-to-end tracing. But what we also need is more of designing, more of, just 1 minute now, I think I'd really have to read out for, give me 2 minutes, more into working more into strategic refining and jewelry export, enhancing local refining of Dore gold, promoting jewelry exports through better designing, more, you know, more probably need for R&D in this sector, where all the stakeholders, not only GGPC but the Skill Development Council and others need to work on it. Then we also need to look at encouraging domestic refining, strengthening gold recycling and monetization, and also implement strategic tariff and regulatory measures, besides of course your gold monetization schemes and all. But for me, from a policy maker, I would still say that focus on the, besides the back end, which requires the skill development and use of modern techniques, look at the front end. How do we, when we were doing these discussions as part of our study, there were, you know, we got inputs like apparently the Tiffany's and the Cartiers, and I would like to get a view from the room on this, are when they come to India, they felt that the designs, very few jewelers could match up to the designs which they were asking for. And for the Tiffany's and Cartiers, which is the trend today, jewelry for the millennials, it's like it's a fashion jewelry, it's a lifestyle jewelry. How much is India able to cater to this demand? How do we, you know, and I strongly believe that we have enough talent in our country. How do we hone this talent? How do we promote the skilling, the designing, and look at the higher end of the value chain? This is what I would say from the exports point of view. The 80-20, you want a discussion right now? Because
well, broadly, are we at least looking at some mandating, not mandating, I would say, I'll be very careful with my words, there is no mandating anymore. I'm just saying, are there some good parts of that which we could adopt?
Frankly, 80-20, it was 10 years old. I mean, I had just joined the sector in 2014 when the 80-20 rule came. Initially, there was a lot of resentment amongst the jewelers. And as we all know, because the gold was coming through the nominated agencies, later on the star trading houses entered, and this whole thing that, you know, you have to, it was, if I remember rightly, it was till the third consignment of your imports, at least 20% has to be exported, or for each consignment, later what they made was each consignment 80% goes to the domestic sector and 20% for export. So there was frankly lot of corruption. The MSME exporters were not getting access to gold, and the implementation, there was one circular after another, and the implementation became very difficult. As you were saying, the idea may be good, but how to ensure? And what apparently happened was that the DTS were exporting a lot of gold, SEZs were not able to keep pace with it, the nominated agencies were playing a very critical role, they were being discriminatory in their approach and distribution of gold. So the entire industry was actually crying out, and I remember we had to have multiple meetings in the ministry to straighten things out, and it did not leave a very good taste in mouth. So the point is that maybe the scheme was good. And in today's world, because now of course the technology is much better, it's been 10 years and we can trace out the whole blockchain, and use of AI can be used to track whether how much of it gold has been imported and actually how much is exported. Maybe it's a good idea which would need a tweak in terms of modern technology and better implementation mechanism to improve exports. Because this huge imports and this, you know, whatever gold monetization, other schemes, what we have to look at is, I mean, we are targeting a $75 billion of exports of gems and jewelry by 2030. This would require all the segments of the industry to come together: gold, diamond, silver, imitation, platinum, etc. And of course, now there are issues of separate issues, reciprocal tariffs, how we handle it, what are the issues of FTAs. So our focus has to be, from a policymaker point of view, how we promote exports, whether there's a alternate to 80-20 scheme, whether there's more focus on designing and skill development, whether there's more investment by the entire industry in trying to promote more high quality products. All these have to come together. We need to promote exports from this sector along with imports. I'm very clear on from that perspective.
Yeah, thank you. But I still would come back to you on the question about, you see, in India, it is always collateral benefits are much, much higher. When we start off something, we think, oh, this is it, and we struggle. But then you suddenly find that collateral benefits are very, very high. It's been my experience generally. That is where I'm coming back and saying, yes, we have skill development. We have extraordinary jewelry making people. We're trying to export gold. But yeah, that is very important, and a lot of focus is going. You're not even looking at I'm not saying we are just not looking at the peripheral things. Everything about gold industry is coming from abroad. Now there's a huge thing. You go for you go to the banker and say, where are your branches? You are giving gold loan. How do you do this? Where is that, that machine? What is that called? XRF machine. Sorry, I'm also getting old. XRF machines, everything is imported, very expensive. We are not even making XRF machines, but we have got mandatory hallmarking. Now, that is much easier than handling exports of jewelry to the US, in my opinion. But my question was just that. Could we at least take the low-hanging fruits and say, everything about gold will be made locally, only gold, now I will invest? I mean, is there, maybe the policy focus has to change a bit, or incentives, whatever?
Not only that, firstly, the industry has to have, as you said, industry has to have the capacity to I mean, how do I put it, to design these machines and manufacture these machines. I mean, it would require some incentives. The system, what I think the point you're trying to make is the sector is very largely unorganized till now. It is largely mostly, at least from the export point of view, mostly hugely labor intensive and mostly MSME exporters. So need for some regulation and incentives to make the sector more organized and structured, but those should not work as a hindrance to the jewelers as well as the exporters for carrying on their day-to-day activities. Yeah. It's a tough and delicate balance, but probably that is what would require thinking of all the stakeholders. How do we promote this sector in with policy certainty, in terms of duty and, sticking on to rates now, and with policy certainty, transparency, accountability, regulations, but which are more facilitating. Government's role should be more of a facilitator and promoting exports and and including the domestic industry, not as a barrier or hindrance, but it's, again I'll repeat, it's a delicate balance. Probably it would require a lot much more thinking. It should be done and can be done, but how? Maybe right. That is one question we leave for the...
Yeah, absolutely. So, point I would make is, now in the ensuing FTAs, it's not just about gold, it's also about telling that country, you manufacture all the peripherals which we are using. If that country is big, then we should say that manufacture it in India. Why only Apple? Produce all the XRF machines in India. We will supply all XRF machines to the world, things like that. But yeah, now I'm moving to the next important question in this, which is exports is very important. We have all spoken a little bit about consignment. Now we have got IIBX. We are definitely at some stage going to have even the local thing coming. In my opinion, those are what are going to drive the recycling. Because, in fact, I had a word with the professor before this. The world cannot now do anything but recycle in almost every industry. In fact, now as part of ESG report also, everyone has to say what they are doing about it, etc. Recycling, not just on gold or silver or whatever it is, even on consumables, packaging and all. We are talking about Amazon and all now, saying that you can't just, you buy a toothpaste, it comes with a big bag so much. What are you going to do? Unless you recycle, no society can survive. Given that, my this thing to you is, this whole recycling will have to develop. But for that, you have to also give exports, unless there is exports, if you say you recycle, but you wait for the price because suddenly it will be at a discount, etc. So coming back, bullion exports. You see, we are focusing on jewelry exports, bullion exports. I think we have now upwards of 30,000. World Council, I'm sure, will come back with a revised figure at some stage, but earlier Raki and I used to work, we were 25,000 5-6 years ago. Definitely it must be at least 30. Okay. But, so even if 1 year you allow and see how it works, you will probably be out by 2,000 tons. It's not a great thing. Anyway, you would have got the dollar. Do you think now it is time to really allow bullion exports through banks and through IIBX? What's your view? If at all we have to do, what is the first change we have to bring? Harish, you can start and then Surendra can come.
सर थोड़ा पीछे वापस जाता हूँ एक चीज़ है कि आरबीआई और डीजीएफटी ने जो अपने बच्चे हैं जैसे बैंक है और नॉमिनेटेड एजेंसी को उनको बड़ा होने ही नहीं दिया 28 साल तक 28 इयर्स तक वहीं के वहीं रखा है ना उन्होंने उसके लिए कोई जो 98 में पॉलिसी बनी थी जो एसओपी बनी थी वो आज ही वही एसओपी आज ही चल रही है उसको कोई चेंज नहीं किया तो सबसे बड़ा जो डिज़ास्टर है वो वहाँ पे एक तो एज गैप का हो गया दूसरा क्या है इतने सालों में हमने 30,000 टन सोना इंपोर्ट भी कर लिया अभी रहा एक्सपोर्ट का सवाल तो एक्सपोर्ट में क्या है कि हमको एक मैच्योर मार्केट रिलायबिलिटी चाहिए कि कौन से रिफाइनर इसको एक्सपोर्ट करेंगे और कैसे इसको एग्जीक्यूट किया जाए या इसको कैसे मैकेनाइज किया जाए तो हमारा और रामकृष्ण जी का अभी एक कॉमर्स मिनिस्ट्री के साथ मीटिंग हुआ था तो एक एसोसिएशन आया था जिसके 10,000 रिफाइनरी है टोटल इंडिया में और एक भी रजिस्टर्ड नहीं है और जो रजिस्टर्ड रिफाइनरियाँ हैं वो सिर्फ 58 है BIS NABL तो ये कैसे बढ़ाए जाए और जिसको ऑर्गेनाइज वे पे यानी बैच वाइज जिसका अकाउंटेबिलिटी हो उसका कॉम्प्लायंसिस हो उसको रख के कैसे इसको एक्सचेंज के थ्रू भी एक्सपोर्ट कर सकते हैं गिफ्ट जोन में भी कर सकते हैं बाहर भी कर सकते हैं या बैंक ले सकता है वो गोल्ड को और बैंक कस्टोडियन होके वापस वो जब भी इंडिया को ज़रूरत पड़े तो वापस आ सकता है तो ये चीज़ एक बहुत गैप से ओपन हुआ है मगर इसको कैसे आगे मैकेनाइज करना है वो तो पॉलिसी मेकर्स का काम है दूसरी चीज़ है कि जो बैंकर्स है उनको 28 साल में आज तक वो लोग कभी हेज आज हम फॉरेन्स बैंक देखते हैं जैसे चार्टर्ड बैंक लंदन या JP मॉर्गन है वो मार्केट को प्ले करते हैं उसको समझते हैं जबकि हमारे बैंकर्स हैं उनको एक RBI का एक कागज में 4 लाइन लिखी हुई है वही कर रहे हैं तो ये कैसे उसको आगे बढ़ाया जाए वो भी देखना जरूरी है थैंक यू
Surendra, specific bullion exports.
As far as bullion export is concerned, we have been always of the view that similar to like we import rough diamonds and we polish it and export polished diamond, why can't we import doré and polish the, refine the gold and then export the gold?
But who will give doré? That's one thing. But we are talking more about recycled gold.
So we can get doré, we can have a scrap gold, we can also have scrap gold. Why doré only? So those things are possible, but as Vasubhai said that RBI, DGFT, everyone has been reluctant to ease the policy as far as gold is concerned.
Correct.
But second,
yeah, sure, go ahead.
The second best mechanism for the export would be to start some kind of export gold export center in Gift City, wherein every jeweler is permitted to enter the Gift City area with a consignment of gold, and whatever he exports through that Gift City, he is allowed to import, he is allowed to purchase BDR to that extent. So BDR will be duty free. So that way he can be compensated. So this is one proposal we are already working on.
That's a very good proposal. Different. I mean, obviously everything has to be looked at, very different. But just to interrupt and come back, I want to come to the bankers also. You see, you and I both know, we have talked about risk all the time. There are always fringe players who will misuse anything. See, that is the worry of a government, when you allow bullion exports, round tripping, currency trade through this, etc., etc. How are we going to take care of that piece is very, very important, because we can't We have been saying the same thing for a long time, saying allow bullion. They have been saying the same thing. I mean, without saying, they know that it opens up a big risk on currency, and particularly when your currency is attacked differently. They don't want that to be attacked through gold. Now, we are not putting the guardrails here and saying, we are just saying, okay, let it be done with that, etc. In fact, my original question on consignment is that pre-funded means it will knock out many people. Unless you have capital, you can't come into this. Bank is not going to do. That way, you will just knock off all the fringe players. Just out. Cash dealers, etc., etc. Then you have only people who are serious about gold coming in. Earlier, you wanted to grow the industry. Now you don't want. Now you want to discipline or regulate the industry. So, my point to you is, when you say bullion exports, yes, we understand the importance. Have we as a industry gone back and said, these are the guardrails, these are the real risks, and we will take care of it along with you, something like that? Have we done that? Have we exploded the risks?
See, I tell you, the risk is always taken by the smart people and not the weak people. Like we have seen so many people importing, other material under the guise of gold. So they are very smart people. And it is the policy makers who are not listening to us. I tell you, I have been complaining to the policy makers that, see, this material is getting imported. They won't listen to it. Still platinum is being imported, and it will not be imported after 1st May. But till 1st May, you can still import platinum under the guise of gold. Or you can import gold under the guise of platinum.
I understand. Okay. So, good point. So you are in favor. We must do it. But I still think that we should put the guardrails and do this. And my other thing is, you see, there are things like we talked about blockchain for imports. Traceability of bars, etc. What we need to do is to pull back and say, it doesn't matter who has done this. We just need to bring it and say, even our export of bars, I'll give you the traceability. That way it doesn't happen. It may not be LBMA bars or whatever it is. At least you know where it came from. That will give a lot of confidence to the promoter also. To the policymakers also, to say that, look, all kinds of gold can't come in. I will trace it from maybe Hyderabad, and I've got from Hyderabad, the refinery here, and then it goes. I think we need to offer that kind of a solution, a tech solution. Now, I'll come back to the bankers in a quick. What do you think? Bullion exports. You think it's an open, Mahindran, both of you, I'm asking you the same question.
From initial responses, I think we should all be focused on recycling of gold.
You should all be focused on?
Recycling of gold.
Yes, but will it allow, with exports, recycling will develop?
It will definitely develop. There are two ways of looking at it. One, let's take the example of whether it's Switzerland or Dubai. What's happening over there? Why can't India adopt the same model? There's nothing stopping you from doing that. It's one thing is about credibility. The issue with us is basically it's an issue of plenty. As Vasubai said, there are 10,000 refineries. Now it's not organized. It's spread across India. You just say one day, open up and say there's no more imports into India of gold. What happens? The whole thing gets developed. And then we talk about satisfying the local market itself before going into the outside world. So as Surendra was also telling, there's been a lot of deliberations, reading between the lines, mistakes in the circulars. These are the things which needs to be addressed before getting into getting a good solution for all these problems. Now, we're talking about consignment supplies X, Y, Z. Everything has got its pros and cons. Now, what's happening in the market now because of misreading or interpreting in a different way? This is so much of supply of platinum, which is disrupting the whole market. So there are different things which are bothering the market. Now, how all this gets streamlined and come to a proper solution where the primary objective is make use of the gold which is available in India, not to get in any more inside India, and that can definitely be done.
Sure. Manish. Yeah. We have got another 10 minutes exactly. Is that okay? Are we doing well on time? I didn't see it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So, see, on the re-export front, free in and out of gold tantamounts to almost capital account convertibility.
Yes.
So, that is one big question, I think, because of which policy level there may be some reservations into that. But I think progressively, if the custom duty on gold comes down, like we are already at 6%, if progressively in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year down the line, if we come somewhere close to what we were, before 2012, something like 1%. I think this becomes a very, I should say, market-driven process rather than policy-related process, because we have seen markets being in discount of more than 1%. So people wouldn't mind re-exporting gold even if they don't get credit back of that 1% of custom duty loss.
Sure.
So I think it will become a market-driven process and not a policy-related process if the duties are rationalized.
Yeah, I think we should make a proper case. And to Manish, you are absolutely right. Capital controls, I mean, in 98 also, Dr. Reddy had said about this. Sorry, huh?
Yeah, another thing which Mahindra is mentioning is basically if the banks are also to buy and warehouse gold.
Yes.
So that also would result and help the market in terms of
Absolutely,
disparities coming down
Correct.
substantially.
You can handle forex, you can easily handle gold. That's my
And this
point.
we were like till 2012 it was allowed. Some of the banks have done it in the past, but again it was policy intervention which stopped them from doing that.
But important thing, as I was saying, is we had this gold exports. We even today LMS, what is it called? Liquidity, that payment which we have. LRS. It's just definitely my age is showing up. LRS is also a capital account, convertibility, right? I mean, every person can invest $250,000. I mean, if I have 3 members in a family, 750,000 goes out of the country. Actually, it doesn't happen. Yes, to some extent. So, to some extent, therefore, I think the fears of allowing gold bullion exports should be seen in the light of LRS. LRS doesn't work, so bullion exports with the guardrails should be allowed. Then you can take care of recycling, because it will automatically lead to lead cycling, and then this thing, in my opinion. But important thing what is coming out is, what is staring at IGPC, you just have to bring all the players, take all the things about consignment and all that, because we have been talking about it. I think now it is important to put all the thoughts on the paper and then see which one is there, for and against, actually. Then you can come to a conclusion on this. And my last round of questions on this is my favorite question, because I don't understand this trade even after working with all of you for so long. Okay, we have to think differently. Therefore, LBMA bars are all a certain, quality and things like that. We have always debated it, etc. What is I want a very quick answer. What is the thing about bringing a jeweler's bar? I asked this in the IFSCA thing also. Specific, see, jewelers buy the bar, and then they also add a lot of other stuff, and then they make jewelry, because they can't make it. Why don't you just give them the jeweler's bar, which is straight away they take it and make a jewelry? And you have a good delivery for that. I know 100% you can't keep it because you can't export it, you can't do other things, etc. But you and India buys bars only for jewelers. You are not allowing anybody other than mutual funds. You're not allowing anybody to buy. Then why are we not getting a jeweler's bar straight away and making things easier for the jewelers? What's your...
सर आपका कहना है कि 92% प्योरिटी का बार
912, 916
पर इसमें 2 पैरामीटर्स हैं, क्योंकि जो गोल्ड हम रिफाइन करते हैं उसको प्योर होमोजेनियस करते हैं. उसमें जो 995 या 999 करते हैं तो जो अदर 0.1% है वो सिल्वर रहता है. पर अगर हम ज्वेलर्स बार बनाते हैं तो ज्वेलर्स का इच्छा ऐसा रहता है कि उसमें कॉपर डाला जाए या सिल्वर तो उनकी एक अपनी आइडियोलॉजी होती है कि वो 92 की जगह शायद 18% ज्वेलरी बनाना चाहते हैं, 14% बनाना चाहते हैं, तो उसमें वो कॉपर ऐड करेंगे. अगर हम 92 का हम बार बनाते हैं तो हम उसको सिल्वर ऐड करके दे सकते हैं, मगर उनको बाकी का चीज़ वो होमोजीनियस नहीं कर पाते हैं. इसीलिए गोल्ड 995 और 999 के फॉर्म में ही ज़्यादा बिकता है, क्योंकि जो उनको अपना जो एडिशन
अभी see it is selling now. What I am trying to say is change the system. Why don't we bring it will be a slightly innovative thing. I don't know whether technologically there will be a problem, but then you say this is the standard bar for a jeweler. Now at least do something different for India. What do you think? Why can't you give a bar to a jeweler?
नहीं सर, ऐसा हो सकता है, ऐसा मना मैं नहीं कर रहा हूँ, पर ज्वेलर्स का क्या है कि जो ज्वेलरी है उसके कलर्स रहते हैं, जिसके कोई एकदम येलो में अगर हम जो सिल्वर डालते हैं तो थोड़ा वाइट फॉर्म में आता है, कॉपर डालते हैं तो थोड़ा डार्क फॉर्म में.
So you know what are they using? See, my point is there is so much data. Just give what is going 80-20 principle में बहुत yellow आते हैं. So I'll give it 916. Okay, 916 bars. The rest of the things you want, you add some more, whatever it is. Can't we do that? I mean, I'm just making a point.
हो सकता है.
हो सकता है. Surendra.
सर ये एक्साइज के पहले तो नहीं हो सकता था बिकॉज व्हेन वी कन्वर्ट 24 कैरेट बार टू अ 22 कैरेट देयर यूज्ड टू बी एन एक्साइज ऑन इट बट आफ्टर जीएसटी यस इट इज पॉसिबल बट आई टेल यू इट विल नॉट बी एक्सेप्टेड बाय द ज्वेलर्स because of the reason that you normally don't give one full bar to a karigar. You have to cut it, and when you cut it, so then suppose somebody wants to use, like he said, white metal, somebody wants to use copper, so वो बाकी का जो बार है वो waste हो जाएगा.
This is great. Actually, this is what I wanted to hear also. This is exactly, then there is a consumer need. Currently, we are operating in a very different way. There is a consumer need. They are doing a process outside. So there is a way, but you answered the question. Manish, what do you think?
Just what Surendra ji mentioned, I think the requirement or the volume of consumption as a standardized product is much higher than what it would become once it is customized in a specific composition.
But see, that volume is used only by these customized guys.
The volume is used, but the proportion, like what Vasubhai mentioned, 916. The balance quantity differs from product to product and from the jeweler to jeweler.
Okay.
So that composition cannot be customized as a single product and supplied to the market.
My turn.
Yeah, so basically, when we talk about LBMA bars, when we talk about Dubai Good Delivery bars, what does it specify? I mean, specify the purity, specify the size, its serial number, blah, blah, blah. I don't think it's going to be difficult for us to adopt that here. There's something called FT, full touch. There's so much of circulation of that. It needs to be regulated in a proper form. Maybe the refiners in India or the association can give a recognition to that bar, and that will be easy for circulation in India.
Sure.
I don't think it's going to be a problem on that at all.
Okay. Sepa, how has it played to export competitiveness?
Yeah.
This is the last question, then I'm just going to summarize in 2 minutes.
Thank you, because I wanted to talk about this before it ends. Yeah, so we have just completed 3 years of the Indo-UAE SIPA, and the gems and jewelry sector has really, we were talking about promoting exports, they have really benefited from this. The exports have increased by about 60%, from 4.95 billion in 2022 to 8.04 billion in 2024. UAE now accounts for a quarter of India's exports, and it is, first top market, and Hong Kong market is now the second one. And the most interesting thing is what I was talking about, not only, the exports are mainly of plain gold jewelry, where the exports surged by 127.62%, from 1.86 billion to 4.2 billion. Studded gold jewelry, which is good, which means that we are looking more into the higher value adds. This increased by about 50%, from 912 million to 1.38 billion. And platinum jewelry, again a new and interesting area, platinum jewelry increased by about 820.07% by reaching USD 23 million. So obviously UAE is emerging as a key market, and Indian market products are getting a good exposure there. So the FTA route, and there are so many FTAs in the anvil, we all know, right, from US to UK to EU to so many other countries, even Latin America and Mercosur and so many other countries, the DOC is engaged. So FTA route with the right kind of, an understanding of the markets, what are the focus products, what are the focus markets, and for gems and jewelry, the right understanding of the products, we can, I think, use this for promoting exports.
Right.
The UAE FTA has been very successful for this sector, and these are some of the new areas. What you were talking about, the jewel bar and all those are not my areas, so I would not rather talk about it. But I will again say that while we look at consignment imports or find other alternate ways of gold imports, let's also see how we can promote our exports. And India is a major player, continues to be a bigger player, probably the most important player in the world markets for all the sectors of this, for all the components of this sector. Not only gold, but others also.
Thank you very much. I think I will close now. It has been very good. As I said, now the task is before IGPC. Bring a few of these discussion points in a paper and, bring the thoughts together. And my other request to the industry colleagues is, whatever we write, the excellent point about jewelers coming in, etc. I think there must be a forum where all these are shared and with IGPC also, and therefore, there is a lot more push coming from us as an industry in that sense. So thank you all very much. I have one comment.
I have two comments and one question actually. One main comment is, it was always a pre-funded model. 1998, what Mahendran is saying, that I'll read out the circular. It's March 6, 1998.
Exactly.
Okay, it has been permitted, therefore, to allow the nominatory agencies and banks to import the gold under different arrangements besides outright purchase under DP basis. The other four models are import of gold on loan basis, suppliers credit basis, third one was consignment basis, and the fourth one was unfixed price basis. So it was always a pre-funded model which preceded the other models, not the other way around.
Right.
It's not that we are again reinventing the wheel and coming out with the pre-funded model now.
So it is more a question of banks now changing it and saying, I'm not going to give it,
Yes.
rather than policymakers saying, I won't allow it.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
So I just want to add to what Ramki is saying. The first order circular was 1998. Banks were allowed to bring it on loan basis. 2002, RBI came up with a circular that banks are allowed to give GML.
Right. So that is GML under consignment or
Exactly.
under import of gold on loan basis.
Fine.
But nothing is clear as to whether the DP basis was stopped or whether the consignment model only continued, because the market sought after the consignment model because it was
So
easier.
right now what you're saying is it is with us, not with the policy.
Exactly.
Great.
It is
Got
with the market participants, not with
Good
the
point.
policy makers.
So that makes the study a lot more important.
No, I just want to add one more point here with what Ramki is saying. Probably IGPC could take it up. We're talking about gold metal loans coming with the cost of interest rates going up. Almost about 800 tons of gold are getting imported, and that's the amount of gold which India also holds. I think the GML market is roughly around 50 tons,
Yeah.
approximately. So I think we should make a case to the central bank asking them to lend only to that extent to the banks, so it gets circulated
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the market.
No, on the contrary, I think that you should actually look up to seeking approvals from the central bank to actually look at the concept of buying outright and hedging it across and looking at the price differential there, rather than only focusing on taking it on a lending
Ramki,
basis.
go to the next. Sorry, they're saying stop.
So one more comment is that with regards to the export gold part, if it's done through an exchange model, then your round tripping and the trade-based money laundering is not there at all,
Perfect.
because everything is in a transparent mechanism. So those are the two comments. On the question part, especially the export aspect is being covered. Under the consignment model, I would want to understand how much of gold is being delivered to SEZ entities from the banks.
Nothing.
Nothing. The reason being, there is a separate approval process required for a domestic entity to operate inside SEZ. Most of the private sector banks do not have any more branches inside SEZ. Only some of the nationalized banks are bringing gold in SEZ and delivering. Second thing, most of the SEZ units import gold directly from the overseas suppliers. More on a job work basis, the gold comes and gets re-exported, and hence the requirement for gold in SEZ is very less for re-export purposes.
Brilliant. So it again reinforces the point that the pre-funded model, etc., is there. But as I said, I'm leaving it open for this. Professor, I think we will stop because your people are saying,
My people keep saying yes, no. Am I audible?
Yes.
Being the boss.
Yes.
Hello? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, thank you. My people, they have been strictly instructed, even if it is me, you have to cut it short. Right? So, they will do it. And two observations. One is, when Mr. Surendra Mehta was saying, I think perhaps observations. So, perhaps Ramki talked about it. See, it is when you talk about trippage and other things, I would like to know things, not for the bad elements, for the right elements, how do we promote exports? That is one thing. And second thing, again, this is again an observation to Rupa ma'am. SIPA has served well, right? My worry has been SIPA has served well, but more to the imports than to the exports. Yeah, you are talking about exports, and my concern, my observation is that no, no. I had to communicate this to you because so thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thanks for the wonderful session. Thanks very much, so.
Thank you everyone for that enlightening session. It is interesting to discuss about the relevance of the pre-funded and the consignment models along with a little history and progression of gold trade while discussing the need to move up the gold value chain to promote exports through better policy making to increase India's footprint on the world gold market. I invite Professor Sundaravali Narayan Swami to felicitate our panel members.
I do want to